Did you know that in African myths, spirits often test humans with tempting deals that seem too good to be true? What happens when greed blinds us to the cost of our choices? This is the story of Jay, a young man who answered the wrong midnight call. Across Africa, myths are more than entertainment. They're lessons passed down through generations, filled with magic and meaning. Today's tale, The Curse of the Midnight Caller, is a powerful reminder of the price of greed and the dangers of ignoring our elders' wisdom. In many African communities, myths and folk tales are slowly fading as modern life takes over. These stories, rich with morals, teach us about honesty, courage, and consequences. But what happens when we forget them? Jay's story reminds us why these lessons matter. Jay grew up in a small village called Amaoka, nestled between green hills and flowing rivers, where the daily struggles were part of life. His parents, hard-working farmers, had little to offer in terms of material wealth, but they were rich in love and wisdom. They taught Jay the value of hard work, patience, and respect for his elders. They often told him stories of great kings and warriors, of spirits that guided the living, and of the power of integrity. But for Jay, these stories weren't enough. He couldn't see beyond the small village and the mundane life his parents led. He dreamed of more, of living in a city with tall buildings, expensive clothes, and fast cars. But reality was far from his dreams. Despite his parents' sacrifices, Jay struggled to make ends meet after finishing school. He worked as a laborer, earning just enough to buy a meal each day. It wasn't the life he had imagined, and soon the weight of his dreams felt too heavy to carry. One evening, while attending a party in the city, Jay met a man named Chijioke. Chijioke was older, dressed in a crisp suit, and carried himself with an air of confidence that made him stand out in the crowd. He spoke of a life of luxury, of things Jay had only dreamed of. As they drank together, Chijioke casually mentioned how he had found success through yahoo, internet fraud. "How can I get into that?" Jay asked, his heart racing with excitement. Chijioke leaned closer, his voice smooth as he explained, "It's simple. You don't work hard like your parents. You don't wait for success. You take it. You promise people what they want, love, riches, success, and you take it from them. It's that easy." Jay, eager to escape his life of struggle, felt the temptation rise within him. Chijioke became his mentor in the world of deception. Jay learned how to create fake profiles, how to lure people into trusting him, and how to steal their money without a second thought. At first, Jay felt guilty, but the allure of easy wealth was too much. The money started flowing in. He bought new clothes, a flashy car, and rented an expensive apartment. He threw lavish parties every weekend, where he flaunted his new life. The excitement of wealth made him forget everything, the lessons his parents had taught him, the warnings of his elders, and the integrity that once defined him. But as Jay partied, strange things started to happen. The first sign came after a particularly wild night. Jay woke up in his luxurious apartment, but it wasn't the comfort of his bed that troubled him. It was the feeling that something was wrong. As he stood by his window, gazing out over the city, he saw a shadow pass across the street. When he blinked, it was gone. He shook it off, thinking it was just a figment of his imagination. Days later, things took a darker turn. Tunde, his best friend, who was also involved in the scams, started suffering from terrible headaches that wouldn't go away. Ada, Jay's younger sister, who had just landed a new job, suddenly lost it after a bizarre incident at work. Their mother, once a vibrant woman, started having strange dreams. Dreams where voices whispered to her in the dead of night. She spoke of seeing shadows lurking in the corners of their home, though no one else could see them. One evening, after another drunken party, Jay received a call, an anonymous voice that seemed to come from nowhere. If you desire unimaginable riches, write the names of 5 people you love most. Burn the list under the full moon, and all your dreams will come true. The voice seemed like a blessing, a way to cement his success. In his greed and desperation, Jay thought only of his dreams. He wrote down the names of his mother, sister, best friend, and 2 cousins. With trembling hands, he set the list on fire under the full moon, watching the flames consume it. By the next day, Jay's life had changed. His bank accounts, once barely holding a few hundred naira, were now overflowing with millions. The car he had always dreamed of owning was parked in his driveway. His mansion was a palace compared to the small house he had once lived in. But as his wealth grew, so did the strange happenings around him. Otu fell into a deep coma, and Ada was involved in a terrible car accident. His mother's condition worsened. She would wake up screaming in the middle of the night, calling out to someone named Nukune. The more Jay enjoyed his riches, the more his family suffered. It didn't make sense. He couldn't understand why this was happening. Desperate, Jay turned to an elder in the village, a wise woman known for her spiritual insight. She listened carefully to Jay's story and then spoke with grave concern. Jay, you have invited the spirits of greed into your life. You have traded the lives of your loved ones for your riches. This curse can only be broken if you return everything you've taken and seek forgiveness. The words struck Jay hard. He had always seen his wealth as a reward, but now he saw it for what it was: a trap, a curse. He had become a stranger to the man he once was. His guilt began to eat away at him. But the thought of giving up his wealth, his newfound power, was harder than he had imagined. But Jay knew he had no choice. He returned every penny he had stolen, using it to rebuild his village. He built schools for children who had no chance to learn, hospitals for those too poor to afford care, and provided work for the people who had once been like him. He sold his cars, his mansion, and gave it all to those in need. On the night of the full moon, Jay stood alone in his backyard. With tears in his eyes, he burned the last of his ill-gotten fortune, watching as the flames swallowed his riches. As the fire died down, he felt a weight lift from his chest. The shadows that had haunted him for so long began to fade. Tunda woke from his coma, Ada found a new job, and his mother's health improved. The curse had been broken. Jay learned the hardest lesson of his life. Greed may promise an easy life, but it always comes with a price. In the end, true wealth isn't in money, but in love, family, and the integrity we carry with us. Jay's story is a reminder that shortcuts may seem tempting, but the road to true success is paved with hard work, honesty, and respect for the people around us. What do you think of Jay's story? Have you heard similar myths in your culture? Share them in the comments, and don't forget to watch our next video, where we uncover even more African tales that carry powerful lessons.